Hey everyone, and welcome back to another installment of the History of LEGO Marvel. I'm your host, Jonathan, and we'll be taking a look today at Part 2, 2012 through 2015, every single LEGO Marvel set that was made in that window. So this is a really exciting time because, of course, in the first installment of this, we took a look at the old Spider-Man sets from the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi movies from way back when. And while those were very exciting, those ended in 2004, so we've gone a long time on the timeline, 8 years in fact, until these sets would have come out. So let's strap in and take a dive into the history of LEGO Marvel, every LEGO set made between 2012 and 2015. So the true LEGO Marvel era began on July 20th, 2011 when LEGO and Marvel announced their partnership together. This was picked up by lots of news media and was really exciting. Of course, we hadn't seen LEGO Marvel sets since 2004, as I mentioned before, and while LEGO Batman and then DC had shared a partnership in the time between, this was really a big thing for LEGO and Marvel to be uniting. We got our first look at the LEGO Marvel sets at Toy Fair in February 2012. These set images are provided by fbtb.net, and they really give a unique look at that era of LEGO Marvel. You'll see that a lot of these figures kind of have rough edges, and they were really just prototypes, especially the artwork, but it was really neat to see what was coming along just a few months down the line. At the same Toy Fair, February 2012, we actually got our first actual Marvel products in a limited series of 125 minifigures that were given away to select attendees. These minifigures, of course, were Iron Man and Captain America, and these are the first LEGO Marvel minifigures ever made. They're incredibly valuable now. I've seen them go for thousands and thousands of dollars, and considering there's only 125 of each, they are definitely the rarest LEGO Marvel figures to date. And just a few short months later, we got the first wave of LEGO Marvel sets. These sets were so fantastic in my opinion, and they've really aged well. Honestly, some of them I think are still among the best LEGO Marvel sets. So let's dive in and take a closer look at each one of them. Starting with the smallest set, we have Captain America's Avenging Cycle. This was $12.99 with 72 pieces and 3 minifigures, and it was just so awesome to get a Captain America figure in such a cheap set. When the Avengers movie came out, Captain America and Iron Man were absolutely the two most popular characters. Iron Man had his own popularity from his first 2 movies, and of course Cap had a movie too, but if you were alive during the summer of 2012, you know exactly what I'm talking about with how there was just so much excitement for Cap and Iron Man, so to get Cap in a relatively cheap set like this was awesome. Speaking of relatively cheap sets, the next set, Loki's Cosmic Cube Escape, was $19.99, had 181 pieces, and came with Loki, Iron Man, and Hawkeye. 3 amazing characters in such a cheap set, again, just really reinforces how LEGO and Marvel came out of the gate swinging with awesome sets and awesome figures right from the get-go. The next set is Hulk's Helicarrier Breakout, which was $49.99, had 389 pieces, and came with 4 minifigures, one of which was a Big Fig, which was really rare for LEGO at the time, and with it being Hulk, that makes it just that much more iconic. It came with Loki and Thor, which of course came in some other sets, as well as Hawkeye, which came in some other sets too, but that Hulk figure was the selling point for this set, and it's really held up by today's standards. The final Avengers mainline set was the QUINJET Aerial Battle, which was $69.99, had 735 pieces, and came with 5 minifigures. Once again, we get another Thor and Loki, another Chitauri soldier, a brand new Iron Man armor, and a Black Widow minifigure. That really made this set round out for an awesome piece, and that QUINJET build was fantastic. Still my favorite QUINJET to this day. The final set from this first wave was actually an X-Men set, Wolverine's Chopper Showdown. This was $19.99, came with 199 pieces, and had 3 minifigures, one of which is the coveted Deadpool minifigure. Now, Deadpool was popular in 2012, but nowhere near as popular as he is today, so this figure is very rare and one that a lot of LEGO collectors seek out even to this day. Now, there were a couple other Avengers sets, but I loosely call them that because not a lot of people were fond of these or really remember them. They're called Construction figures, and they were $14.99 each. They had 39 to 44 pieces, depending on which figure you got, and there were three options: Captain America, Hulk, or Iron Man. I actually think that these look pretty terrible, and they've really not aged well, so we don't have to spend too much time talking about them. As the summer of 2012 continued on, there was a surprise Ultimate Spider-Man set that came out toward the middle of summer. This set was a shared exclusive, which means it was available at Walmart and at the LEGO Store and LEGO Store Online, and this was based off of the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show. It came with Iron Fist, Dr. Octopus, but honestly, most notably, Spider-Man. You have to remember that in the year 2012, there had not been a LEGO Spider-Man official minifigure in 8 years, so to get one in this set was a big deal, even if this specific version of Spider-Man would be showing up in a lot of sets over the next couple years. It was still a big deal at the time. Now, after that, we had a couple polybags that trickled out over the summer. The first of which was an Avengers QUINJET, which was available for free with the Sun newspaper in 2012 in the United Kingdom. Pretty random that it was available for like one day in one country, but that's the story. Thor and the Cosmic Cube was another polybag, which was available at Legoland California during June, at the Legoland Discovery Center in Atlanta, Georgia in July, and then again in October with that same Sun newspaper. Another polybag was Hawkeye with Equipment, kind of a random name, but it was for free with a Donald Duck magazine in 2012. Yeah, you heard that right. Then the Sun newspaper got another one, and there was another final polybag that we got, which was actually a promotional giveaway, gift with purchase, from the LEGO Store during May of 2012 at the height of the Avengers 2012 movie. This was a minifigure scale Hulk, which I think is actually really awesome. It gets a lot of hate, but I think that this figure is fantastic, and it's one of my favorites from LEGO Marvel. And to finally round out the year, there were two San Diego Comic-Con exclusive minifigures. One was Jean Grey, the Phoenix, and the other was Black Symbiote Suit Spider-Man. Now, these were produced in limited edition production numbers, which are still unknown to this day. I've heard anywhere from 1,000 to possibly like 2,000, but the numbers are vague on these things. We just know that they're very rare and very limited. Now, that said, how you would obtain these is you would have to be an attendee at San Diego Comic-Con in July 2012, and then you would enter a raffle at the LEGO booth, and from there, if you won the raffle, you would get this figure for free. Pretty amazing, because these figures can go for hundreds of dollars now, especially if they have that backing card with them. So it is pretty unique to own one of these, and if you own one, drop a comment and let me know. So needless to say, LEGO Marvel came out of the gate swinging in 2012. Absolutely amazing sets, great reception, so 2013 was up next, and that brought us to Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 was so hyped as the first movie to come out after the first Avengers movie. And although the movie isn't as great as we might have hoped, we did get some sets, and the sets did help keep rolling on that LEGO Marvel quality. Up first, we have quite possibly the most memed LEGO Marvel set, and that is Iron Man vs. the Mandarin Ultimate Showdown. Now, this set just gets made fun of on end all these years later because, of course, this scene never actually happened in the movie, and the Mandarin's golf cart of doom is honestly pretty goofy. The minifigures from this set are pretty cool, however, especially that Heartbreaker armor, but the build itself is just not all that great, but for $12.99, it definitely was a good buy back in the day. After that, we have Iron Man Extremis Seaport Battle, which was $19.99, had 195 pieces, and came with 3 minifigures, including our first ever LEGO War Machine, which to this day is a very rare and desirable minifigure because they haven't really made too terribly many War Machines over the years, and of course, that first version is always going to be pretty desirable. Another thing to point out is that the Aldrich Killian LEGO minifigure head was double-sided, but it also was glow-in-the-dark to kind of show off that Extremis effect, so definitely a unique take on this figure. It doesn't look that great along other figures as you see here, but it was something adventurous and cool. The final Iron Man 3 set was the Malibu Mansion Attack, which was $39.99, had 365 pieces, and came with 5 minifigures. I actually think this was the best Iron Man 3 set, and it's among my favorite LEGO Marvel sets to date because I love location-based sets. Of course, the minifigures here were Iron Man, Pepper Potts, Tony Stark, a extremis soldier, and of course a detailed version of the Mandarin. We also got a little dummy thing here too, which was very cool, and I thought that this set really aged well. Chronologically speaking, the next LEGO Marvel release would be the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. This would be an Amazing Spider-Man 2 style Spider-Man figure and a classic comic book Spider-Woman figure, both of which are pretty baffling. First of all, the Spider-Woman figure is crazy to me because as popular of a character as she is, to make her a Comic-Con exclusive where so few people will ever get to own her is baffling to me, and the other side is, they never made any sets based off of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It would have been a goldmine for them to do so, but they never did, but then they made one random figure in such limited quantities? It's such a random, baffling decision to me, but in any case, the facts are the facts. The next wave of LEGO Marvel sets would be the Spider-Man sets, the first of which would be the Spider Cycle Chase for $19.99 with 237 pieces and 3 minifigures. Of course, one of them is Spider-Man, like I mentioned earlier. It's great to have him, but man, he's gonna come in a lot of sets, just you wait and see. Then of course we had our first ever LEGO Venom, which was a welcome addition, and our first ever LEGO Nick Fury. So lots of firsts here, and definitely a nice little build with Nick Fury's car and the Spider Cycle for $20. This is a set that I feel like a lot of people had back in the day. Moving on, the next set was the Daily Bugle Showdown, and this is among my favorite LEGO Marvel sets too. For $49.99, you got 476 pieces, 5 minifigures, one of which of course was Spider-Man, but some really heavy hitters like Doctor Doom, Nova, Beetle, and J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, 4 of the 5 figures have never appeared in another set since this one, so that just goes to show that this set had a lot to offer. Speaking of which, you got Doctor Doom's jet, you got some city scenery, and of course a 3-story Daily Bugle. 4 if you count the rooftop, but I don't think that counts. In any case, this set was fantastic and definitely remains among the best for LEGO Marvel. Then in 2013, we got a nice little selection of polybags to go with this, one of which was from Avengers, the movie from the year previous. This is Iron Man vs. the Fighting Drone, which was available in Hong Kong at Toys R Us in January 2013, and then in the US it showed up at Toys R Us for free with certain purchases in October of 2013. Pretty weird how these figures will just show up periodically. Then the last release for the year was an Iron Man 3 release, which was the Iron Patriot minifigure that was available as a free pre-order reward from GameStop here in the United States if you pre-ordered the LEGO Marvel video game, the first one that is, which was an awesome game actually. So that brought 2013 into 2014, and unfortunately we didn't get any other LEGO Marvel sets from 2013, and even in 2014 we didn't get very much as far as the MCU is concerned until the later half of the year, so let's dive in and take a look at what we did get. Up first, we got some more Spider-Man sets. This is by far one of the weirdest LEGO Marvel sets, and this is the Spider-Trike vs. Electro. For $12.99, you got that same Spider-Man figure all over again, a great new Electro minifigure, and an absolute waste of parts Spider-Trike. This thing was terrible. I'm sorry, I can't even defend this one. The next set was Doc Ock's Truck Heist, which was $19.99, had 237 pieces, came with that same Spider-Man again, came with a familiar security guard, and came with Doc Ock. Really some fantastic figures here for $20. The last Spider-Man set of this wave was another Ultimate Spider-Man set, which was Spider Helicopter Rescue for $44.99 with 299 pieces and 4 minifigures. Those figures were, you guessed it, Spider-Man yet again, an absolutely ugly Green Goblin figure, a great Mary Jane figure, and a really nice Luke Cage Power Man figure. Definitely this is one of those sets that you buy for the figures because I just don't understand why Spider-Man would ever need a big helicopter like this. It makes 0 sense. But moving on, we got some Avengers Assemble themed sets, the first of which was Captain America vs. Hydra. This was $19.99, had 172 pieces, and came with Captain America, Red Skull, and a Hydra Trooper, all of which looked fantastic and all of which were firsts. The build itself was actually pretty cool too, something I want to highlight, because the axles that the wheels sat on actually had kind of like a cool shock system so that this vehicle could go like up and over rocks and rough terrain, so I just wanted to point point that out. I always loved this build. Speaking of builds I loved, the Avengers Hulk Lab Smash set was great too. This was $49.99, had 398 pieces, and 5 fantastic minifigures to go with a great build. There were a lot of stickers on this one, but honestly, I love location builds so much that this one just will always hold up as a fantastic build for me. The minifigures were a comic book themed Thor, the only time we've ever gotten one, a classic style Hulk, Taskmaster, MODOK with his own chair, but he's standing up here, and Falcon for the first time ever. I love those translucent red wings, and it really just pulls this figure together so well. Now, after that, we move into Guardians of the Galaxy territory, and the Guardians were not as popular at this point as they are today because the movie hadn't even come out yet. As with all LEGO sets, the sets come out before the movies, so this was a risk for Marvel, it was a risk for Disney who owned them, and it was a risk for LEGO to put out an entire wave of characters in sets based on something that people hadn't fallen in love yet and they weren't guaranteed to. But luckily, we all know how that turned out, and let's dive into these sets because the Star Blaster Showdown was a great set for $19.99. It had 196 pieces, came with 3 minifigures, had a couple nice little ship builds, but the figures were great, especially that Star-Lord and Nova Corps Commander character. They both looked fantastic. Then we've got the Nowhere Escape Mission, and with this set, we got a giant-sized Groot, we got Rocket in his little scavenger pod thing, we got a Sakaran soldier again, and we got Nebula, all of which are great, except for maybe Groot. They built him to be a little bit too big, like he's to scale with Rocket, but Rocket's not exactly to scale with everybody else, so it's just really hard to forgive this Groot. The final Guardians of the Galaxy set from the main wave was the Milano Spaceship Rescue, which has always been among my favorite LEGO Marvel sets ever. For $74.99, you would have gotten 655 pieces and a whopping 5 minifigures. It was so great too because you could fit these figures inside of the Milano, which is something that I really loved. Of these 5 figures, we got another Sakaran soldier, but we got our first Gamora in one of only 3 Gamoras that we've gotten so far. We got another Star-Lord variant, a fantastic Ronin figure, and then we got a Drax figure too, which is really fantastic as well, especially with all that printing on the arms and everything like that. Finally, from this wave, we also got an X-Men set. This was X-Men vs. the Sentinel. This was $49.99, 336 pieces, and 4 minifigures, all of which looked great. It was really cool too because you could fit the figures inside of the X-Jet, the Sentinel build was really great, and you got Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, and Magneto. Honestly, what more could you ask for from something like this? In rounding out the Guardians hype, we got a Toys R Us exclusive Rocket Raccoon polybag that actually came with a little sticker sheet you can see in the corner to put on your Milano. I thought that this figure was awesome, and I wish that I had gotten more of them. I only remember seeing it at Toys R Us maybe one time, and of course Toys R Us isn't even around anymore. Who would have ever thought, huh? But it did come with Baby Groot in the potted plant there, which was very cool, and this figure actually has held up really well. It looks fantastic. The dual-molded short legs was something new for back in the day, and he had printed arms, which are very desirable by today's standards. But speaking of that figure, it wasn't exclusive. In fact, that figure also appeared in the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive set, Rocket Raccoon's WARBIRD. Now, of course, this ship never even showed up in the movie, and the build itself doesn't have any exclusive pieces, so you could totally build this on Bricklink if you wanted, but it is still pretty cool that this exclusive set lives out there. Speaking of exclusives, at the same San Diego Comic-Con, they gave away a collector exclusive minifigure, and man, this one is high on my wish list, but, you know, I've seen them go for well over $200, and it was only available at San Diego Comic-Con as an exclusive, just like before where you needed to enter a raffle and then hope to be lucky enough to be one of the people selected to get this. So, it's a very difficult one to get, but man, do I wish I could get my hands on this one. It is a fantastic figure. Then for one last random little thing, Toys R Us did a Captain America exclusive build on April 12th, 2014, and basically how this would work is if you were a kid and mom, dad, or whoever took you to Toys R Us, there would be pieces there and you could build this Captain America shield. I can't say I've ever seen anything about it other than this advertisement, but I feel like it should count, especially since LEGO Marvel doesn't really do build events like this, so figured it should make the list, and that's that. So 2015 brought in the Age of Ultron, quite literally because the movie dominated that year. While it's not considered the best Avengers movie, at the time it was super hyped to be getting the Avengers together again on the big screen, and it was really exciting to get the Lego sets that came with them. The first of those was Iron Man vs. Ultron, $12.99 with 90 pieces and 4 minifigures. This was a cool army builder. LEGO Marvel has really not done any army builders to this point, and honestly, barely even since. So getting 3 Ultron drones and an Iron Man for $12.99 was a great deal at the time. The next set was Avengers Hydra Showdown, $19.99, 220 pieces and 3 minifigures. This one was a great way to get a cheap Hawkeye, a cheap Thor, and then of course one of the little foot soldier guys for Hydra. Next up is the Hulkbuster Smash for $29.99. This one had 248 pieces and 4 minifigures. The first ever Scarlet Witch. We got an Ultron Prime, another Iron Man armor variant, and another Big Fig Hulk, which was cool because this time he had some leg printing on those purple shorts. Very, very cool addition. Next up is the Attack on Avengers Tower. For $59.99, you would have gotten 515 pieces and 5 fantastic minifigures. Now this set opened up, as you can see here, there were hinges that ran along the inside seam there. And at the top, you had like a Tony Stark lab, you had an area for the Avengers to party in. The next floor had the Ultron assembly room. There was a research thing for Loki's staff. There was a hospital room on the bottom, and then an Iron Legion dismounting area at the bottom. As far as those minifigures are concerned, these ones were fantastic. We had another Iron Man armor, we had another Thor, of course, 2 Iron Legion figures, and then the Ultron Mark I version. And those Iron Legion figures are very desirable today because they only ever came in this set, and you probably want multiple of them to build up your Iron Legion army. So this set was very cool, and I actually had like 2 or 3 of them over the years to build and combine into a big one. Next up is the Avengers QUINJET City Chase for $79.99. This set had 722 pieces and 5 minifigures. The box for this thing was massive too, by the way. Anyways, this came with the biggest QUINJET to date, and it had Black Widow's little motorcycle there, it had a vehicle with the cradle to keep Vision in, but the real highlight of this set, of course, were the minifigures. The Captain America figure was brand new for Age of Ultron. This Ultron figure was fantastic in his final form. We also got Vision, which if you notice on his forehead, he has a blue stone in his forehead because the concept art for Age of Ultron had him having a blue stone instead of a yellow one. Fun fact. We also got an Age of Ultron Black Widow and yet another Iron Man, but this set was fantastic. As far as big sets go, the final set from Age of Ultron was actually a shared exclusive with Toys R Us. So you could get this at Toys R Us or from the Lego.com website, and this was the Hydra Fortress Smash. It was $49.99, had 405 pieces, and came with 5 minifigures, 3 of which were repeats, Hulk, Captain America, and the Hydra Foot Soldier, but it came with Baron Von Strucker and Quicksilver, who's a really desirable figure even today, because this was the only set he came in. So these were really fantastic. Then to round out this part of 2015, we had a Winter Soldier polybag, which is the only figure ever to be released based off of the Winter Soldier Marvel movie. This was a LEGO store gift with purchase that was free at the LEGO store or LEGO Online in March of 2015, and then again during the 1st day through the 15th day of August in that same year. So this was pretty interesting, and it's a pretty desirable figure, but it has gone down in value over time as more of them have found their way onto eBay and Bricklink and all those great places. Speaking of things that don't hold a lot of value, the Spider-Man Super Jumper was an absolutely useless polybag that was available in the later half of May 2015, and this one was so lame. It was that same Spider-Man we always get with everything, and then just a random little droid build. Absolutely pointless. The next one is the Avengers QUINJET, which was allegedly available at the LEGO store in May of 2015, but I don't ever remember seeing this on store shelves, so if anybody knows anything about this, please drop a comment and let me know. Next up is another one that I never saw in stores. This was the Hulk polybag. I bought mine on eBay, but it came with a little quad that he could rip in half, and then it came with a sticker sheet too, which was pretty neat. According to my research, this was available at Toys R Us in Canada and at Toys R Us in the UK, but in the US, I don't ever remember seeing this one. So once again, if you saw it, drop a comment and let me know. The final polybag we're going to look at here is the Electro polybag from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And this one is crazy because Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't get any sets based off of it, but the two things that it did get is a limited exclusive polybag that was available for 1 month at Toys R Us if you spent $30 on Lego, and a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. It's so weird that with a big tentpole movie like this, they did make two products, but they were so limited available. But they had such limited availability to the general public. It's absolutely baffling. But with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring this to a close. There are other 2015 sets to look at, but I'm going to show you those in part 3, where we look at all the LEGO Marvel sets released from 2015 up until the day of that video's release. So this has been so much fun, guys. Thank you so much for watching this. If you haven't seen part 1, you absolutely should go check that out for the earliest LEGO Marvel history, and stay tuned and hit subscribe so you don't miss part 3 when I'm able to get that out and have all the research together for you. Thank you guys so much for your support. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's anything I can do better for you guys, be sure to drop a comment and let me know. I'll see you guys on that next video, and until next time, build on.